So I start all my talk with one commitment from me, and especially because this is a peace conference. So I have a great deal of commitment to compassion for the audience. So I'll keep it short. Hopefully, so I will raise more questions about AI, more relevant questions than what is being today asked about, and also some guided framework for thinking. So the whole concept of AI, so there is a lot of hype on AI today that AI can replace human beings. AI is going to replace human beings from an intelligence perspective. The problem is today, intelligence is not well defined, nor is consciousness. There's a lot of talk in YouTube videos on consciousness, intelligence. Every panelist is very clear, but overall there is confusion, right? So we'll see more about this. So why all along we've been seeing AI in our daily life, whether it is Netflix recommendation or Amazon recommendation or navigation or recognition of images. But now AI has become more, I would say, relevant because organizations have started to use AI for areas which are affecting human beings, especially hiring algorithms, hiring selection, loan sanctions, and other criminal investigation, predictions, fraud detection. So the title is primarily borrowed from Amartya Sen's article or views on Nyaya and Neethi. So Nyaya and Neethi, Neethi is primarily principles and policies where you are committed to correct behavior, correct implementation of the policy and procedures. Whereas Nyaya is about realized justice. What do I experience despite all the organization and policies being correct and AI being implemented correctly? Am I experiencing justice at the end of the day? So this is how he interprets. I thought it's a good starting point. This talk is all about starting point for conversations and directing conversations towards an area that can make us more effective in the use of AI. So the whole three things that I'll cover today is the ethical dilemma, the technological correctness, algorithmic correctness versus lived fairness. How do we apply the complementarity of Nyaya and Neethi in the technology space? And how do we address the challenges that are often talked about today, which is ethics, lack of bias, fairness, and other human values? So how do we bridge the gap between technology and the human values? So sometimes technologists tend to coin terms which are very misleading, right? Is it really intelligence? Are we getting, distracted by this term intelligence, right? So the whole thing about is, let us talk about, not about whether AI is sentient, conscious, or intelligent. Let us talk about capability of AI. And see, how do we harness this capability for betterment of humanity? So the question of AI sentience, consciousness, intelligence, what is intelligence, can be discussed separately from the capabilities and how those capabilities can be not compromised by many other issues, moral issues, right? So we have, as I said, you have today loan approvals, resume screening, then you have content moderation. Social media is full of this complaints about my post has been deleted because the content moderation has deleted it. YouTube, full of, last few years, full of complaints about only the particular ideological messages are being promoted and my ideology is not being promoted. So, see, AI, if I go into the internal of AI, look at it this way. It is only learning from data. It is not pre-programmed. It looks at data, information, images, text, and sees patterns and connections, correlation. It correlates. And based on the correlated, learned correlation, it is more or less able to give a sense of what is the prediction. image recognition, or any prediction of any event, right? But we know, many of you who are statisticians know, correlation is not causation. The causal part of AI is still very dubious, right? For example, if there is correlation between rain, thunder, lightning, umbrella, wetness in the rains, accidents, but what is causation here? AI will not know that easily. If there is a fire, there are fire engines. Is a fire engine cause of fire? For us, it is intuitive, not for the AI. So often, correlation and causation are confused, and this confusion is either intentional, thereby masses are distracted, or there is I would say, mass deception of how correlation and causation are often confused, right? So let's look at capability. Let us reframe artificial intelligence as decision intelligence or decision framework. If you go for the purpose of understanding this conversation, right? So if you look at decisions, how can AI make decisions? And how those decisions, what decisions can be left to AI versus what decisions has to be supported by human review, then we can have a more open dialogue, more constructive dialogue, right? So there are two things, right? There is a search, like you have AI can be used for search, AI can be used for optimization. Search is primarily searching for an answer. Like Google, we used to have search for an answer. Today it's optimized. Today when you go to ChatGPT, you can get more answers. So these two are the, I would say, capabilities of AI today, right? Typically when I go to a hotel, there are two problems I face in any room, any hotel. Can you guess that? When I enter the room, whatever the hotel is, there are two problems. Where are the switches? Second is how to optimize, how to search for the switch. Second is how to optimize the hot water, cold water. First few minutes are really torture. Similarly, I keep hunting around for where is the switch for the lobby or the front. Like in this hotel is much better because there are physical switches. These two are the typical problems we face today. It's all about data and data and data. Based on data, AI is able to search for me, also able to answer questions for me, right? So coming to AI is not a technology that is, one single technology. It has been there for ages. There's a continuum. Like we started with mechanical automation, which is primarily mechanization of muscle, as I call it. Then, the second wave of automation came, your PPT, Excel, and all that. Now we are talking about how can AI automate judgment. So you should look at AI more like a continuum of automation technologies. And do we have to be afraid of automation? Not necessarily. So AI is all about data. And today we are getting distracted by data, and am I losing privacy? I can tell you, we have already lost our privacy. Wherever you go, you are, in some way, there is a track of what you're doing and whom are you with, where you are. That is not the problem today, because you cannot avoid it. You cannot say, I want to remain, completely anonymous. That is not possible, right? So the issue is not about hiding. The issue is, whatever data is being collected about me, how is it being used? Is that fair? That is what we have to look at as people who use AI. Technologists will worry about privacy. Ideologists will worry about privacy. I say, okay, you can keep worrying about privacy all your life. But that is not going to help you because you already lost your privacy, right? So coming to this, how do we ground AI with philosophical, how can AI be grounded philosophically? How can we apply these terms? And don't worry about, this is not exhaustive. You have Nyaya, Neethi, Dharma, Viveka, I take Bharatiya philosophy because it is rich in, it's very nuanced. Whereas the current corporate thing, there are few words, ethics, bias, fairness, and maybe one more I probably wouldn't have thought of, right? But Indian philosophy is rich in nuanced approach to fairness. Right? So how do we ensure that there is a continuous feedback loop on application of AI? It's like driving, right? When you're driving, you're applying feedback. You're looking forward, you're looking at what that person ahead of you would potentially do. A cow is standing in the middle of the road. When will it, move to your side? You're continuously predicting and also getting feedback. How have I done? How have I driven? Did I make a mistake? So that's how we want systems to be designed, to have a continuous ethical feed forward, which is predictions, and a context-aware override. Even if I'm using all the principles correctly, am I able to override those things, those ethical dilemmas, right? So peace or justice is an emergent property. We cannot say, have peace. It's like, in a road rage, you go and say, boss, shant ho jao, don't fight. அமைதியா இருங்க, சண்டை போடாதீங்கன்னா சண்டை சும்மா இருந்துருவாங்களா? இன்னும் நம்மள அடிப்பாங்க வந்து. So anger, peace, justice, human emotions, and many things like traffic is an emergent property. It happens. So you have to create like a garden, right? You cannot say, please flower. It won't flower. You have to do the right things. So how do we do the right things in the context of AI, right? So I have to rush. I know Yagnesh is looking at me, very smiling at me. So what is important to bridge the gap between the world of human values we live in and the world of technology many of us live in, right? Language. Language shapes reality. Would you agree with me? Today, how all narratives are created using language, words, terms very cleverly, right? So how do we ensure that we are able to create a good semantic bridge between the world of human values and the world of technologies, right? Why I'm saying language? Because today the large language model, ChatGPT, is all about making sense of the mass body of text available in the internet, right? So how do we ensure that we are able to bridge this gap between the human values world and the world of technology? So I propose we all should look at how well this can be implemented. The AI system terminology, we have lots of terms. Many of you who are doing AI will understand these terms, which doesn't make any sense to the philosophical world, the world of ethics people, philosophers, people who design human systems, right? And here, these people, the AI systems designers and deployment people don't understand this. So how do we create a world that is bridgeable between these two, right? So when values and systems speak a common language, technology becomes a force for peace, not a force for distracting argument about will AI remove people and all that. That's a distracting argument, right? How do we remove distraction and deception and be more aware of what is relevant to me? Okay, so some of these terms that many of you will, can look at and relate to. So I have some suggestions. How do we, philosophical concept of Shraddha, how do we encode this concept in AI systems, right? How do we encode Viveka? I said ethical override of machines, ethical override of a loan processing or a recruitment system, ethical override of a system wherein criminals are being judged or predicted based on factors which are not ethically tenable. Or prajna, anubhava, whatever you want to put, you can put here. Doesn't matter, right? This is not exhaustive. I'm not saying this is the only one. On the right side, can we translate that into a machine language or a machine semantics that in turn can be coded as a program, and humans and machines can work together harmoniously, peacefully, not adversarially, right? You talk about peace. Can machines and humans live in peace? Because the whole concept of anthropomorphic is attributing human qualities to a machine. Today we're doing that. Okay, if you are attributing anthropomorphic attributes to machine, then let us also ensure the machine understands the concept that is encoded in our philosophy, right? So to summarize, let's not worry about distracting argument about AI, sentience, consciousness, intelligence, which have no common definition. Let's worry about capability. And if the capability is being used by us, how do we ensure that capability is appropriately used, right? How do we ensure, rather than algorithmic correctness and technical correctness of Neethi, how do we ensure that Neethi is translated to Nyaya, which is lived experience? I as an employee should perceive justice. You as somebody else on the road or as citizen should perceive justice, right? Language is power. I think we are misunderstood this power of terms. And if you look back last 5 years, there is immense deception in the world. That ideological debate, if you are interested, we'll have a nice discussion over coffee. And don't get bored with my views. It's all about terminology. It's a neuro-linguistic programming. We are all bombarded with pictures, neuro-linguistic language, and programming means forced to do certain things against what is good for you. Examples I can give you, right? So the same thing can be used for the good of humanity. Program ourselves into thinking like machines and ensure the machines start to think like humans, right? And that I call semantic bridge. Let me stop here. Any questions? Do I have time for questions? Thank you. Yeah.
I want to thank you first of all for a very brilliant presentation. And it is not a coincidence that as a technologist without any background of writing or letters, when I tried to get into journalism, it was this idea of collaboration between human values and technology that got my foot into the door. I used the Meiji Restoration's formula of Eastern morality and Western technology. And that caught the eyes of Rector Parekh, who was on the interviewing committee. And he says, I want you to tell me more about this. And it is not a coincidence that later the chairman of the Bennett Coleman Group, I was selected surreptitiously to build a bridge between science and spirituality in the form of Speaking Tree. Though I am a science editor, they did not know that I also had a traditional background of the Shastras because of the upbringing that I had. So in the 50 years that I have spent in this field, everywhere I have seen the value of making connections and making bridges and keeping our senses open. And I want to thank you for this very, very brilliant, thought-provoking presentation.
Language that two different people can collaborate on, that language often is not there and breaks down. That breaks down communication because you don't have a common language. Common language is not a language, Tamil, Malayalam or English. It's the terminology. You know, it's like, okay. So we will talk more about it, sir.
Yes,
very
yes.
interesting. You brought a very good point, how we are unnecessarily creating difference between science and humanities.
Yes.
Right? So, yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, Mahesh, it was really fascinating. So I have just one question. Can you go back to your second last slide?
Will you find some fault in it?
That's okay. No. Who am I? See, when you talk about this Nyaya, Neethi and all justice and everything, and you also talk about connecting it to...
One, sir, which one? Which slide do you want?
Second last slide. Yeah, this one.
Last slide, okay.
Yes, this one, precisely. So yes, it's a definitely fantastic point that you have raised. But my question is, when you talk about, let's say anyone, Shraddha, Viveka, Dharma, anything, Anubhava, Rita, whatever, there is a degree of subjectivity when you take the final call, right? There is a degree of subjectivity. No, I mean, at times, so how do you, I mean, is it possible, do you really think that AI can reach that subjectivity which a human mind
Since, yeah, this is a very good question, and I definitely want to have, I'm going to chase you to have a discussion offline on this.
Because AI,
Yeah.
see, I'm not a computer guy.
You don't have to be.
But as far as I understand, computer understands 0 and 1. It's the binary kind of thing. No?
Yeah.
All programmings are.
Yeah.
So, but when all of these have certain thin lines between 0 and 1.
Yes.
And there you have to take the call.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, actually, the answer to your question was unanswerable, or there was no problem, there was no solution to this problem 2 years back. When ChatGPT came, this changed everything. Now, if you start to befriend ChatGPT, go for a paid account of, I'm not a salesman of ChatGPT, any of the institutional paid account, you will see how it started to think like you subjectively. Subjectivity is what? Trade-offs. How can I be happy? And if I give a constraint, subjectivity can be further, we can try to objectify subjectivity by creating a sense of boundary and consequence. See, I don't know how to explain, but I can tell you one thing. Subjectivity in AI has started today, and that is why organizations have started to talk about AI being used for decisions. Until now, AI and ML remained in the realm of statistical models, probabilistic models, which is number. There is a 30% chance that today it will rain, so that is, statistics was the foundation for AI and ML before. Now, language, semantics, connections, association, dependencies, relationships have become the basis for AI. Am I clear? So your subjectivity is all about connections, dependencies, relationship, dependencies, associations. That is started now, sir. That is what will now, we are in a world of huge opportunities. And where there is opportunity, double-edged sword, there will be huge problems, which we have to, promises, pitfalls, and potential. We will talk more about it. Thank you so much for the time given, extra time given.
One question, yeah. Just one. First, sir, thank you very much for a wonderful talk.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
In fact, when I saw the program a few days back, I was wondering how A and peace are connected.
And?
A and peace are connected. But you gave a very beautiful explanation through bringing philosophy into picture.
Yeah.
But my observation is, any technology has got broad advantages, as well as it has become more disruptive also. But as on date at least, the way AI has progressed, the amount of disruption AI brought, vis-a-vis whether the TV or mobile brought, they have brought convenience, but they have brought disruption also. So for example, when I got a call from unknown fellow on my mobile, I am worried. But that's not the case with AI so far, at least.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that AI has not disrupted peace as on date as it did with mobile phones.
Yeah, so we have to be, so Yagesh, I'm officially done, okay? I'm going to talk as a...